To support Chloe in her power struggle, I proposed a fake marriage. Why would you help me? She asked, confused. It's a two-way street. My parents are always on my case about my partying. Once we're married, you'll have to help me cover for it, I told her. She agreed without a second thought. She had no idea I was never the playboy she despised. I've been in love with her for 8 years. Later, she got her wish and became the head of the Vaughn Corporation, and she even reconnected with her first love. I figured it was time to end this sham of a marriage. But instead, with tears in her eyes, she pressed her soft body against mine and whimpered, "Honey, why don't you want me anymore? The girl I'm in love with is named Chloe Vaughn. A name as beautiful and classic as she is. Damn, flowery language like that really doesn't sound right coming from me. But to describe her name, it sounds so damn good that I memorized it anyway." The first time I recited those lines to my best friend, Jason, he shuddered dramatically. Chloe herself would never use such a cheesy introduction. What are you getting so worked up about? You planning to show off how cultured you are in front of her? No offense, but you're trying way too hard. It's going to backfire. Whatever. A guy with no taste isn't worth my breath. All my friends have terrible taste compared to me. I say that with total confidence. Because back in high school, none of them could appreciate Chloe's appeal. At Northwood Preparatory Academy, a school full of rich kids because of our privileged backgrounds, Chloe was the real deal, a true elite. She was a straight-A student, president of the student council, the teacher's pet, the pride of the school, and the most responsible person in our entire generation of heirs. Everywhere she went, she was the one who shined brightest in the crowd. Every time I saw her, my heart felt like it was going to pound right out of my chest. But those idiots, with their shallow mindsets and juvenile taste, actually said Chloe was too intimidating and didn't inspire a man's desire to protect her, claiming she lacked any real feminine charm. Bullshit. The truth is they were just wimps, without the skills or the guts to get a girl like her to notice them. So it was just a classic case of sour grapes. I was different. Sure, I was also just a slacker heir with no real skills or courage, but at least I wasn't in denial about it. Chloe Vaughn was the absolute best girl in the world. I asked Jason to help me figure out how to win Chloe over. Jason shuddered. He asked me, "You're really going after Chloe?" I nodded. "She's the kind of person who'd call out the principal in front of the whole school. Are you sure you want to get involved with her?" Jason shivered again. Oh, he was talking about the latest incident that made me fall for her even harder. We'd gotten a new principal a while back. He was a stuffy, middle-aged guy. He demanded that all female students wear uniform skirts every day, banning them from wearing the uniform pants that the boys wore. Not only were pants forbidden, but the skirts had to be worn with Japanese-style white knee-high socks. To drive the new rule home, the principal got on stage during assembly and started spouting all sorts of nonsense, saying things like, "Girls should look like girls. Wearing a skirt is a sign of proper etiquette. Short hair on girls looks delinquent," and so on. To top it all off, he ordered the student council to strictly enforce this new rule, promising disciplinary action and demerits for any girl who didn't comply. He hadn't even finished speaking when Chloe, as student council president, grabbed a microphone and stormed the stage, firing off a series of sharp, powerful counterarguments. "Excuse me, principal, but who gets to define what a girl is supposed to look like? In my opinion, however a girl chooses to be is what a girl is supposed to look like. In history, women who took on traditionally male roles were celebrated as heroes. How is it that now, in the 21st century, a girl wanting to look sharp and capable is considered improper? Sir, are you living in the wrong century? Our school's motto is local roots, global vision. I'd like to ask which part of your speech aligns with a global vision? You're disrespecting diversity with your authoritarian, arbitrary, and outdated rules. How can you possibly prepare us to be citizens of the world with a mindset like that?" Every word Chloe spoke rang with power and conviction. No one, not even the principal, dared to breathe, let alone try to interrupt her. The moment she finished, the entire student body erupted in applause. After that, the new dress code was quietly forgotten. And while most of us students came from influential families, this new principal was a major shareholder in the school's investment group, so he had plenty of clout himself. Our school wasn't like the ones on TV where the principal is afraid of offending the students. For Chloe to publicly challenge him like that was a huge risk. It was right in the middle of our international baccalaureate exams. If the principal had gotten angry and expelled her, Chloe might have been forced to take a gap year. It would have been a major setback for her academic future. But Chloe didn't hesitate to stand up and challenge him. She did it so the girls at our school wouldn't be forced into a narrow box. Jason said that whenever he remembered the sheer force of Chloe's words that day, her one-woman army stance, He felt this invisible pressure from her that made his knees weak. Ever since then, he couldn't help but want to run whenever he saw her in person. He's such a coward. I looked down on him for it. But I was different. Whenever I thought about Chloe in that moment, I felt like my heart was going to explode from how awesome she was. I don't think you have a chance with Chloe, because I don't think she's into guys at all, Jason said. Just look at her mom. Chloe's mother was the CEO of the Vaughn Corporation. Some people said she'd had Chloe through a sperm bank. Others claimed she'd been married, but cut the father out of the picture right after Chloe was born. For years, there was no shortage of successful entrepreneurs in Chicago who wanted to be Chloe's stepfather, but none of them ever succeeded. The head of the Vaughn Corporation was always a solo act, completely devoted to her career, giving no man the time of day. Thinking about it, I did feel a little discouraged, but I bounced back pretty quickly. Honestly, if Chloe wanted, I'd be willing to be the sperm donor, or even the father who gets cut out of the picture. I might not have any special talents, but I'm good looking, so my genetic contribution on the appearance front would be solid. If she just gave me the slightest chance to get close, I knew I could make her never want to leave me. Jason was wrong. Chloe did like guys, but that just made me miserable, because that guy wasn't me. Damn it, that pretty boy? That damn transfer student. It was the first time I'd ever seen Chloe smile so tenderly. Her usual confident grace was softened with a hint of shyness, like a rose that was both eager to bloom and timidly holding back. It was breathtakingly beautiful, and my heart ached with jealousy. I ground my teeth. Don't ask. That was the sound of me grinding my teeth. I seriously wanted to chew that transfer student up and spit him out so he could never show his face in front of Chloe again. Just give up, Ethan. Jason started raining on my parade again. You saw it. Even if Chloe likes guys, she only likes guys like Liam Sterling. You and him are complete opposites. Liam Sterling. That was the transfer student's name. Humph. What was so great about him? So he was a little pale and good at school? He was just a nerd. Why on earth did Chloe like him? Ethan, you're not being fair. Liam is hardly a nerd. The school specifically recruited him as a genius to get into Oxbridge. Jason just loved to pour salt in the wound. I was furious. Whose side are you on anyway? It's because I'm your friend that I'm telling you to give up now. Jason said, we're not in Chloe's league. Why do you think she was drawn to Liam so fast? Because they're both academic superstars, equals who get each other. Even if Liam wasn't in the picture, she'd never fall for a slacker like you. Why are you so hung up on her? Wouldn't it be better to find a girl who actually likes you back? Give up? Oof, not in this lifetime. I swear, having a friend like you is a curse. Jason yelled. Fine, keep chasing Chloe, but you can't make us look bad in the process. I didn't get what he meant. I'll handle the whole strategy. You don't need to get it, Jason said. You'll see in a few days. Unbelievable. Jason's grand plan was to destroy my reputation. I don't know how he did it, but within a few days, the entire school was buzzing with stories about my romantic exploits. Stuff like I'd had a string of girlfriends since I could walk, that the line of girls wanting to date me stretched from the school gates to Paris, that I was a wild, free spirit who preferred sweet, innocent girls. Are you trying to help me or screw me over? I couldn't stop myself from throwing a punch at Jason. With this kind of playboy reputation, why would Chloe ever give me the time of day? Jason deftly dodged my fist and said with total seriousness, just listen to me. Hear me out. Talk. I was ready to hear what kind of crap he was about to spew. Jason explained that I wasn't Chloe's type at all. If I just went after her directly, she'd shut me down completely, and I wouldn't even have a chance to be her friend. So, I had to play it cool, act like I wasn't interested in her, so she wouldn't put her guard up when I got close. The plan was to start as friends, build a connection, and then, when the time was right, make my move. But I'm a pretty outgoing guy, and if I just started hanging around Chloe all the time, even an idiot would figure out what I was up to. That's why the playboy persona was so crucial. I was a guy who had girls falling all over him, never turning anyone down, but never bothering to chase anyone either. It gave me the perfect cover to advance or retreat. On the offensive, if an opportunity to win her over appeared, I could pull the reformed playboy card. I'd show her that out of all the girls in the world, she was the only one for me. She'd be so moved. On the defensive, if I could never win her over, at least I'd still have my pride. In our social circles, I'd still be a guy who had it all. The whole theory sounded a little weird, but it also kind of made sense. Maybe I should just trust him on this one for now. I started looking for sneaky ways to get close to Chloe. It was harder than I thought, to be honest. She was in the honors track, and I was in the general one. Our paths didn't cross naturally very often. Even with my school-wide reputation as a playboy, she didn't seem the least bit curious about me. Until one morning during study hall, I showed up late. That day, Chloe was the hall monitor. As I walked into the building, She stopped me and asked for my name and homeroom. Then, with her slender, beautiful hands, she carefully wrote my name down in her little notebook. Oh my God, you guys, you have no idea. Chloe talked to me. She actually wrote down my name with her own hand, and I was standing right there next to her. So close I could clearly see the tiny shadow her long eyelashes cast on her cheeks when she looked down. For the rest of the morning, I was completely out of it. So thrilled, I felt like sprinting a few laps around the track. I thought I had finally found a way to get close to Chloe without tipping her off. Whenever Chloe was on monitor duty, I made sure to be late. She caught me smoking multiple times. She busted me for sneaking in takeout. We got to know each other better and better. After she caught me yet again, she even smiled at me and said, "Ethan Monroe, you again." Her smile was incredible. Jason, being a killjoy, insisted it was a sigh of a smile. What are you talking about? It was obviously a smile of concern. Fine, it was concern. But dude, I'm begging you. Our homeroom's monthly conduct score is dead last now. Our teacher is about to have a stroke. It wasn't a big deal. I just slipped a thick envelope of cash into our teacher's desk drawer. Your performance bonus is on me. Just don't bother me while I'm breaking the rules. The teacher didn't take the money. Instead, he made me write an apology letter and memorize the school handbook. He said if I didn't, he'd call my dad and have my credit cards cut off. No tardiness, no skipping class, no smoking. I couldn't stand a single one of those stupid rules. Except for one. One rule I absolutely loved. No dating. Heh. With that rule in place, Chloe and that Liam Sterling wouldn't be able to take things any further before graduation. Perfect. I wrote the letter, but I kept breaking the rules. And that's how Chloe and I got to know each other, in our own weird way. You're really strange, Chloe said one day. You break more rules than anyone, but you always have the best attitude when you get punished. Since you're so good at admitting you're wrong, why can't you just try to actually change? I just grinned. If I hadn't messed up so much, how else would I have made such a lasting impression on her? I suddenly had the urge to tease her. Is the great student council president worried about me? If you were willing to keep an eye on me, I'd be happy to clean up my act. The cool, perfect girl saving the rebellious bad boy. It was a classic story. Chloe rolled her eyes. I don't have time for that. I pressed on. How can you not have time? As president, isn't it your duty to help a fellow student see the error of his ways? Chloe looked at me with those clear, bright eyes of hers. It was the first time she'd ever looked at me with such seriousness, and my heart started hammering in my chest. Ethan, you're not a child. I think you know exactly what you're doing, and you're capable of taking responsibility for it. Why would you need someone else to police you? For a second, I got lost in her crystal-clear gaze, completely stunned. By the time I snapped out of it, she was already gone. Man, I wish Chloe would look at me with that much intensity every day. For 3 years of high school, my relationship with Chloe was lukewarm at best. It felt like we were friends, but also not really. I spent 3 years breaking school rules and never found a chance to take things to the next level. Jason popped up again, telling me to give up. Hilarious. I was never going to give up. If 3 years didn't work, I'd just try for another 3. Are you sure you can even get into the same university as Chloe? Jason scoffed. What was that supposed to mean? Chloe got into Oxford. And I got into Oxford, too. Oxford Brooks. We were the only 2 people from our school who ended up in that city. Because everyone else either couldn't get into the University of Oxford or thought they were too good for Oxford Brooks. It worked out perfectly for me. A familiar face in a foreign country. This had to be fate. Even better, that Liam Sterling guy ended up going to a school in the States. Good for him. He knew when to get out of the way. But Chloe seemed pretty heartbroken about it. I saw her smile and wish him all the best at his dream school. But as soon as she turned away, I saw her eyes were red. My own heart felt like it had been stabbed with a needle. My heart ached for her. I wished that one day, Chloe would shed a tear for me. Still, I despised Liam Sterling. I knew he and Chloe had originally planned to go to the UK together. What kind of man breaks a promise like that? Even though his decision helped me out, I still thought he was scum. I daydreamed happily about our time abroad. In a strange foreign city, we'd be the most familiar person in each other's lives. And it's only natural for familiar faces to look out for each other, right? And one thing would lead to another, and then, haha. But I'd forgotten that Chloe was fiercely independent. She didn't need anyone to look after her. If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad must go to the mountain. She didn't need help, but I could. Hey, Chloe, can you come with me to buy some dorm stuff? You know, my grades suck. My accent is terrible. Want to explore the city with me? You know, my grades suck. My accent is terrible. I can't make sense of this research paper at all. We're in the same program. Can you help me out? You know, Chloe would often sigh at me. Listen, Ethan, if you're really struggling this much, maybe you should just have your family hire you a private tutor. I'd immediately put on a wounded expression. I'm so stupid. I must be causing you so much trouble, right? It's all my fault. I wish I were smarter. Chloe would look at me with this unreadable expression and say, you don't have to be so. So what? Are you like this with all those other girls? The ones who are supposedly lining up to Paris for you? Chloe asked, adding, so. She chose her word carefully. Needy. Oh my God. You guys, you have no idea. Chloe was asking about my rumored girlfriends. Basically, she was jealous. And even if it wasn't jealousy, it meant she was curious about me. Yes, this was amazing. I forced myself to keep a straight face. Of course not. I mean, setting aside the fact that I'd never actually messed around with any other girls. I would never act this pathetic and needy with anyone else. No one but Chloe could ever make me act so mild-mannered. Chloe just said, oh, and didn't press it. Then a very important thought occurred to me. After all these years of me faking this playboy reputation, what did Chloe actually think of me? Did she think I was just an unreliable screw-up? Or did she think I was tainted? I asked her. Chloe gave me a confused look. Ethan, we're just friends. What opinion would I have about your private life? As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. I couldn't quite describe how that made me feel. Should I have been happy that we were finally becoming closer friends? But for some reason, I just felt a wave of sadness wash over me. The truth is, I had thought about just being direct with her. I mean, after all this time, what was the point of hiding it? But after watching how Chloe handled guys she wasn't interested in, I quietly shelved that idea. Chloe was absolutely brutal. Any guy who tried to subtly get close to her, she would quietly and completely ghost. If someone was bold enough to confess their feelings, she would smile politely and acknowledge their confession. Acknowledged, but not reciprocated. If they persisted, she would block and delete them from everything. The next time they saw each other, she'd look at them like they were a complete stranger. Or worse, like they were something she scraped off her shoe. If I made a reckless move, I might lose my chance to even be friends with her. I once gently asked her why she had to be so ruthless. We were at a Korean barbecue place at the time. She looked at me through the steam rising from the grill with a wry smile. Actually, I'm curious too. How do you manage to never turn anyone down? Never turn anyone down? Who said I never turn anyone down? How did that rumor get so out of hand? Speaking of which, she continued, after you came here, how come you're not out partying every night? Why are you pestering me about schoolwork instead? Chloe suddenly gave me a suspicious look. I flinched. I had to keep the playboy act up. Otherwise, I'd be the next one on her block list. It's my old man. He said if I don't graduate, he's cutting me off from the inheritance. I thought I'd have more freedom over here. Ugh, it's so annoying. I said it with so much conviction, I almost believed it myself. You've got to help me, Chloe. I took the chance to lay the pity on thick. Chloe nodded. We're old friends. Of course. Then she sent me an iMessage with the contacts of 2 top students. They're both classmates of mine at Oxford looking to make some extra cash. They're in your field. Don't mention it. I was speechless. Ugh. Sometimes I really wanted to strangle her. Sigh. Chloe was probably just sick of me. Why else would she be so cruel? It made me too scared to push things with her any further for a while. I was terrified she'd get fed up and just cut me off completely. I decided to give her some space for a while. Great. If I didn't contact her, she would never, ever contact me. It was hopeless. About a month later, she actually messaged me first. I didn't even have time to get excited. Her. Did you ever add those tutors I recommended? Me. Gave up. Been out partying every night instead. Her. Oh. She just said oh. I was so choked up I didn't even want to reply. But after thinking it over, I couldn't let the opportunity slip away. This was the first time she'd ever messaged me first. Me. What have you been up to? Her. Classes, reading papers, living in the library, homework. The workload at Oxford is insane. To be honest, sometimes on this long road of chasing Chloe, I felt completely lost. I didn't know what I could possibly offer her. She was so strong, so independent, so self-sufficient. She could get by just fine all on her own. It was like she didn't need anyone by her side. Maybe she wanted someone who was on her level, but was that person really me? I felt like I was trapped in a paradox. The closer I got to her, the further away she seemed. The college years passed just like that, with her always at arm's length. I might have made some progress in getting closer to Chloe, but my ultimate goal felt as far away as ever. It was like I had walked 100 miles, but my destination was on Mars. I didn't have a spaceship, so the whole thing felt like a fool's errand. And for some reason, as I got older, that confidence and drive I used to have started to fade. I was even starting to accept the most likely outcome. Chloe and I would spend the rest of our lives in this state of being not quite close, but not quite strangers. Maybe one day I'd be at her wedding, just another invited guest, watching her marry someone else. And she would never know that I had loved her for a long, long time. Thanks for the invitation to come and witness your love. Damn it. Why was this British pub playing a sad Mandarin love song? Did they even pay the royalties for this? After we moved back to Chicago, Jason started dragging me out to parties. He'd studied communications and started his own talent agency, so he was always surrounded by gorgeous women. He was trying to get me to move on. Ethan, you've been on the sidelines for years. It's time to stop dreaming about Chloe and find a distraction. Part of me wanted to take his advice, but it was no use. It was all just so boring. All those girls, whether they were sweet or sultry or innocent, they all blurred into one. None of them shined. In all this time, I had only ever met one girl who shined, and that was Chloe. Even if she shines like a 1,000-watt bulb, that light is never going to shine on you. Why do you put yourself through this, Ethan? Jason sighed. He was right. It would never shine on me, but I loved her anyway. Even if all I could ever do was watch her from a distance, I would still love her. Later, Jason gave me a mysterious gift. I can't help you win over the real Chloe, he said. So here's something to help you blow off some steam. It was a VR headset. When I put it on, I was shocked. It was an interactive game with an avatar modeled on the real Chloe. My face flushed red as I watched for a minute, and then I beat the crap out of Jason. Who saw this? Who else saw this? Jason yelped as he dodged my hits. Nobody saw it, nobody. It just used a photo of her face. The body and face weren't synthesized until the moment you turned it on. You're the only one who's seen the final version. At least he had some sense. If Chloe ever found out about this, she would kill me. I muttered. She'd have to find out first. What? You think you're actually going to get her into your house someday? Jason said, exasperated. Do you want it or not? If not, I'm taking it back. I'll take it, I said through gritted teeth. There was no way I could risk this thing ever getting out. Jason gave me a smug. I knew it look. The truth was, the game was completely pointless. The Chloe in the game was obviously a fake. She didn't shine. I put it aside pretty quickly. But that night, I couldn't help but dream about her. It wasn't the first time I dreamed of Chloe. But this time, the dream left me feeling deeply unsettled. An endless longing grew in both my body and soul. God, couldn't you just give me one real chance to get close to Chloe? The opportunity came when I least expected it. To be honest, if I had known it would happen this way, I would have rather it never happened at all. Chloe's mother died in a car accident. The Vaughn Corporation was left without a leader. Her grandfather and uncle tried to take advantage of the chaos to seize control of the company and push Chloe out. I knew the history of the Vaughn Corporation. It was originally founded by Chloe's grandfather. He had wanted to pass it down to his son, but Chloe's uncle was incompetent and nearly ran the company into the ground. It was Chloe's mother who stepped in and saved it, single-handedly turning the small business into the industry leader it was today. Everyone on the outside assumed her mother had left the majority of the shares to her, but that turned out not to be the case. Chloe's grandfather and uncle together held 45% of the stock, while her mother only had 30%. The rest was held by minority shareholders. Now, with her mother's sudden death, the minority shareholders were panicking, and her grandfather and uncle were trying to use the opportunity to buy up their shares and gain a controlling stake. They wanted to steal the fruits of her mother's life's work. Of course, Chloe wouldn't let that happen. She had to protect her mother's legacy. But she was on her own, and it wasn't going to be easy. The minority shareholders had trusted her mother, but they didn't necessarily trust her. Chloe needed support. She needed a powerful ally to reassure the wavering board members and win their trust. But people are pragmatic. She was clearly at a disadvantage, so who would stick their neck out for her in a losing battle? Her grandfather and uncle were counting on this, which is why they weren't taking her fight seriously. But they didn't know about me. I would always support her. For the first time, I was grateful that my parents were so successful, putting my family on the same level as hers. If Chloe married me, she would have Monroe Industries backing her. Not only would that stabilize the minority shareholders, but she could even use the leverage to buy them out and crush her grandfather and uncle. So, I went to Chloe and proposed a marriage of convenience. I had never seen Chloe so vulnerable. Her eyes were red, her face was etched with exhaustion, and she had a fragile, keep your distance air about her. Just looking at her made my heart ache. I wanted to pull her into a tight hug and tell her that everything would be okay, that she still had me. For her, the pain wasn't just about losing her mother. It was also about the treachery of her own family, revealed only after her mother was gone. They were her closest relatives, yet they had stabbed her in the back without a second thought. A marriage of convenience? But I have nothing to offer you, Ethan. She was confused by my proposal. Who says? I said, trying to sound casual. You have no idea how much my parents are nagging me to get married. They're always trying to stop me from going out and having fun. After we're married, you can help me handle them and cover for me when I go out. With the terms of a fair exchange on the table, she agreed. Jason told me I was an idiot. This was the perfect opportunity. Why didn't you just tell Chloe you've been in love with her for years and that you'd help her if she married you? Why this whole marriage of convenience nonsense? I just smiled and didn't explain. Chloe had too much on her plate at that moment. Burdening her with a confession of love would only add to her stress. And proposing a real marriage then would have felt wrong. It wouldn't have been about love. It would have been like taking advantage of her desperation, forcing her hand. This so-called contract, this mutually beneficial arrangement, was the only way she could accept my help without feeling indebted. I never wanted to see the proud Chloe Vaughn have to compromise her principles for anything, not even for me. I'm worried someone might look into it. To be safe, we should get a real marriage license, I suggested. Chloe didn't object. I was being selfish when I suggested it, of course. I didn't know what the future held. Maybe once she had a firm grip on the Vaughn Corporation, she would ask to end our arrangement. That was the most likely outcome. But even if that happened, it was okay. At least, for a little while, she would have really been my wife. The law itself would be the proof. We got the license quickly and had the wedding soon after. The wedding was so lavish it even made the news. Vaughn and Monroe heirs and wedding of the century. While we were planning it, Chloe repeatedly said we didn't need to make such a big deal out of it. We just need the public to know we're married, she said. To her, it was just a formality. But for me, it was a dream come true. I had imagined it a million times. Chloe in a white wedding dress, walking down the aisle towards me. We would exchange rings and say, "I do," to a lifetime of vows. So how could I possibly let this wedding be anything less than perfect? It had to be absolutely perfect. It was also a way to create a beautiful memory to hold on to later. You know, my family doesn't do anything low-key, I explained. To make it look convincing, a wedding of this scale is normal. If we tried to downplay it, people would get suspicious. Chloe didn't argue after that. The sight of Chloe walking towards me in her wedding dress was more stunning than I could have ever imagined. In that moment, it felt like the whole world faded to gray. All I could see was her. She played her part perfectly, her smile radiant, her eyes sparkling. She looked at me with such tenderness, the very picture of a blissful bride. In that moment, I truly felt I could die happy. There was only one thought in my head. I really married Chloe. I played a little trick with the wedding ceremony. I told the officiant to make sure he included the part where the bride and groom kiss. It wasn't in the original schedule, so Chloe had no idea. So when the officiant announced it, her face instantly turned a beautiful shade of crimson. I pretended to be just as surprised. They must have added that to liven things up. If you don't want to, everyone's watching, she whispered, and gently closed her eyes. Shamelessly, I immediately wrapped my arm around her waist and pressed my lips to hers. It was even better than I had imagined. Chloe's eyelashes fluttered, and her breath hitched. She was so nervous. I couldn't help but deepen the kiss, and the small hand she had on my chest immediately tightened into a fist. It wasn't until I heard whistling from the crowd that I snapped out of it. I had gotten a little carried away. Sorry, I mouthed to her. She just gave me a smoldering look that was somewhere between annoyed and flustered. What was I going to do? My heart was racing. I pulled even more tricks. For instance, I told her my parents wanted to live with us for a while, which meant our plan for separate rooms was out. It also gave me the excuse of keeping up appearances for the happy newlyweds, to kiss and hug her around the house. I also had the sofa in our bedroom removed, so we had no choice but to share the bed. Then, when she was fast asleep, I'd pull her into my arms, draping her arm and leg over me. The next morning, I'd insist that she was the one who had snuggled up to me. I found every excuse for us to be seen together, calling her honey whenever I could, and hearing her call me honey back with just as much fake enthusiasm, and so on and so forth. I was despicable. I was shameless. And having had a taste, I wanted more. I felt something slipping out of my control. At first, I thought just having this time with her, this marriage, would be enough, even if we were destined to separate. But now, I found myself completely unable to accept that inevitable outcome. Being with Chloe day in and day out felt too good. I couldn't bear to let her go. The thought of Chloe eventually ending this ridiculous marriage and leaving me made my chest feel so tight I could barely breathe. I couldn't bear it. I just couldn't. I figured Chloe would be asking to end our contract any day now, because she had successfully taken control of the Vaughn Corporation. Chloe was already incredibly capable, and with Monroe Industries backing her, she quickly won over the minority shareholders and became the CEO. Later, in a bold move, she convinced several minority shareholders to sell their shares to her at a premium. She now held 51% of the company's stock, making her the undisputed person in charge. She had also managed to outmaneuver her grandfather and uncle, kicking them out of the company's core management for good. With her goal accomplished, Why would she be willing to stay trapped in this fake marriage? Besides, she had been showing signs of impatience lately. Sometimes she'd make sarcastic comments to me, clearly annoyed about something. But when I'd ask, she'd deny it. At night, she started sleeping right on the edge of the bed, creating a clear dividing line between us. She said she didn't want to accidentally roll into my arms anymore. She also started deliberately distancing herself from me, refusing to be seen with me too often. I figured she was eager to end things not just because she didn't need me anymore. The bigger reason was probably that Liam Sterling was back in the country. The first thing Liam did after returning was go to the Vaughn Corporation to see her. I happened to be there that day, and standing outside her office, I clearly heard Liam confess his feelings to her. He said that after all this time, he'd never been able to forget her. He said he was too young back then to appreciate what they had, and that he hoped for a second chance. I didn't stick around to hear the rest. I was afraid if I did, my heart would completely shatter. Liam had never forgotten her, and I was sure she felt the same way about him. They were each other's first love, the person who defined the best years of their youth. They were like-minded, a perfect match in every way. She and Liam would have so much to talk about. I couldn't think about it anymore. It was too painful. I was the one who brought up ending things with Chloe. Better than waiting in suspense every day for her to deliver the final blow. It was better to just get it over with myself. Chloe was stunned for a moment, then asked why. I mumbled some excuse about how being married was cramping my style with other girls. She didn't say anything else, just a quiet, okay. We went to the courthouse right away, just as quickly as when we decided to get married. But we didn't walk out with divorce papers, because there was a mandatory 30-day cooling-off period. 30 days. She was probably counting down the seconds. I couldn't stop my mind from racing with thoughts like that. I thought she wouldn't come back to the house during that month, but she did. She just pretended she had work to do and shut herself in the study. Without Chloe in bed next to me, the mattress suddenly felt terrifyingly huge. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Suddenly, I smelled alcohol. Chloe had come into the room at some point. She was holding something. What is this? I looked closer, and my blood ran cold. Shit, it was the VR headset Jason had given me. I'd kept it hidden in a drawer in the study. Can you tell me what this is supposed to mean? She asked, her eyes fixed on me. For a moment, I had no idea how to explain. If I told the truth, I'd die of humiliation. Loving her for 8 years, but only daring to fantasize about her in secret, it was so pathetic, so creepy. It doesn't mean anything. You're a beautiful woman. I'm a normal guy. What's wrong with a fantasy? I have plenty of others. I was rambling, not even sure what I was saying. It's just a weird hobby, okay? You want to call the cops on me? Chloe let out a very soft laugh, like the chime of a tiny bell. And then, she did something I never would have expected. She untied the belt of her robe. It felt like the clouds had suddenly parted, and the moonlight was so bright it was almost blinding. A moment later, that soft moonlight was pressed tightly against me. I started to tremble uncontrollably. What are you afraid of? Chloe's voice was a seductive whisper. You dare to dream about it, but not do it. Chloe, you. My voice was tight, and a certain part of my body was wound so tight I thought I'd go insane. Just think of it as a parting gift, she murmured, and her hands moved to a place they had never been before. Any man who could hold back at a time like this wasn't a real man. I immediately took control. But, this is your parting gift. I felt there was a hidden meaning in her words I wasn't getting. Weren't you the one who was planning to leave? Chloe's voice suddenly filled with hurt. Weren't you the one who asked for a divorce? You're the one who doesn't want me anymore. You agreed the second I brought it up, so you must have wanted it too. Chloe bit down hard on my shoulder, and I felt a hot tear trace a path down my back. Ouch. How had I never seen this playful side of her before? What else was I supposed to do? Chloe's voice broke into a sob. Yes, I fell in love with you. But I can't accept you having so many other women. I don't want to spend my life dealing with your affairs. In that moment, it was like a bolt of lightning struck my brain. Did I hear that right? Chloe said she loved me? I tried so hard not to fall for you. I started avoiding you, avoiding any physical contact, constantly reminding myself that you were a player and not worth my heart. But I couldn't help it. I can't live like this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life as some bitter wife, heartbroken over her husband's cheating. She rambled on. So let's just do this. One night together, and I can say I had you. Tomorrow, we'll go our separate. An enormous wave of joy exploded in my chest. Words couldn't describe it. At that moment, only the most primal action could express the happiness overflowing inside me. Honey, I said, we're not going our separate ways. The night was short, but I knew that from this moment on, I would have a lifetime to share all the joy I had kept hidden in my heart for so long.